This is the 2006 season recap for William and Mary. Coach David Hodgson and the William and Mary Tribe finished the 2006 season with a 24-6 overall record, and it is a season that will certainly live on in history for this William and Mary basketball program. The greatest season in school history, reaching heights, doing things that William and Mary has never done before. Absolutely unbelievable year here in 2006, and really pretty much coming out of nowhere. 2005 Tribe did not have a good year at all, and entering the 2006 season, the experts were predicting more of the same for William and Mary. And after an 0-2 start to the season for us here in 2006, the experts probably feeling pretty good about their prediction. It's a couple games into the season, but then we got our first win, and we were able to turn things around big time. Kept stacking the victories, winning and winning. And when the season had come to a close, we had a 21-5 overall record, and we had won the Colonial Conference regular season championship by a pretty comfortable margin. Clearly the 1 seed going into the Colonial tournament. Just winning the regular season championship is an incredible accomplishment for William and Mary in and of itself. And we entered the Colonial Conference tournament on the bubble. There was a chance that we could potentially make the NCAA tournament for the first time in program history, as one of the few original D1 members who had never accomplished that entering the 2006 season. There was a chance we could reach it even if we didn't win the conference tournament. But entering the conference tournament, we felt like we at very least had to win the first game going up against Delaware. And that game against Delaware is probably the most dramatic, most epic game in this 2006 season that will be remembered here for the Tribe, considering there was so much on the line, considering, of course, we needed to win to have a chance in the conference tournament, and very likely needed to win to have a chance at making history and reaching the NCAA tournament. We had our backs up against the wall big time against Delaware. We trailed by double digits. We trailed at halftime, and we fought our way back, scratched and clawed our way back into the game, took a lead in the second half, and then Delaware started coming back. We couldn't make some free throws late in the game that could have given us a cushion and maybe sealed things, and things got extremely close at the end. After missed free throw opportunities, Delaware had the ball with just seconds left, trailing by 2, and they had hit 3-pointers in that game. We were nervous they might be able to do that again and end our season in heart-aching fashion. They went up for a jump shot that was just inside the 3-point line, ended up getting fouled. They made both free throws to tie things up with just seconds left, and then we were able to potentially, most likely, arguably hit the biggest shot in William and Mary basketball history, as Campbell was able to sink the game winner with just 0.4 seconds left on the clock. That was enough to get us the win by 2 points and move on to the semifinal when we took on VCU, trying to keep our NCAA tournament hopes going for us, our conference tournament hopes alive as well. Hard-fought game. We got off to a better start against VCU, had the lead against them. They hung close the whole game, but we were able to stay just a step ahead of them, able to get the win and move on to the Colonial Conference Championship game, where we went up against James Madison, and we entered the game ranked for the first time in program history. That was a very exciting reveal, because we knew we were on the bubble, and after those 2 wins in the conference tournament, seeing that we were ranked pretty much felt like we were going to be an at-large bid even if we weren't able to beat James Madison. But of course, we wanted to win the conference tournament, wanted to win the Colonial Conference tournament for the first time in program history, and a very hard-fought first half against James Madison. A huge play right at the end of the first half that really felt like the turning point in the game. It's just moments left in the first half. We were able to get a deep pass down court, and sink a three-pointer at the buzzer to extend our lead a bit and give us all the momentum going into the locker rooms. Came out in the second half and just continued that momentum, built a nice lead against James Madison, and ended up winning the Colonial Conference Tournament Championship game by a pretty significant margin. Huge celebration, of course, on campus and in Williamsburg, as there would be absolutely no doubt, no sweating during Selection Sunday. We had punched the automatic ticket to the NCAA tournament for the first time in program history. An absolute dream come true for everyone here. There were so many doubters as we were making this run through the season, thinking that our hot streak would run out, but we just kept it going all the way, and we were able to win the Colonial Conference Tournament Championship and make history for our school, going on to the NCAA tournament. And we entered as the 6th seed. Incredible accomplishment just to make it, but to enter as a 6th seed was very impressive. We went up against the number 11 seed Arkansas, a team from a power conference, of course, the SEC. And we had not beaten a single NCAA tournament team all season. We only had one game against a team that made it to the NCAA tournament, and that was a close loss against Virginia Tech. But unfortunately, in our first NCAA tournament game, we ran into a buzzsaw, and Arkansas, they got out to a really quick start in this one. They built themselves a quick lead, and they just had a big lead the whole game. We fought and we tried our best to make this competitive, try to get back in this game, but Arkansas was just far better than us in that game there, and our season came to an end. But to have been part of the big dance, first time in program history, is certainly a dream come true, certainly a huge accomplishment. And we had our one shining moment for sure, getting to be in the big dance, and of course the championship run through the Colonial Tournament. The rest of the NCAA tournament is in the books. It's all over. Let's recap the whole NCAA tournament here. Look at the NCAA tournament play-in game. The very first one was Mississippi Valley State taking down Cal Poly to be the last in the field of 64. In the Washington Regional, here we go. Duke, no problem against Mississippi Valley State, 81-49 victory. They move on. Texas, 8 seed, able to get past Pittsburgh by 22, there. They moved on to the next round. Michigan State cruising over Arizona State. Western Kentucky cruising over Idaho State. Oklahoma getting a 13-point win over Boise State. UMass, in a close one, gets past USC by 2 points. Indiana playing fantastic defense, dominating Furman to move on. And Arkansas dominating William & Mary in their first ever tournament game to move on to the next round. And here are the next round. Arkansas, they looked really strong in their game against us, but their season ended their very next game as Indiana was able to get a 14-point win over them, and Indiana moved on to the Sweet 16. Oklahoma able to get an 8-point win over Massachusetts to move on. Michigan State took down Western Kentucky 69-63 to move on. And Duke, an absolute nail-biter against Texas, winning it by the smallest of margins, 74-73 to move on to the Sweet 16. Duke, a much more comfortable victory their next round, taking down Michigan State 92-74 to move on to the Elite Eight. And they met up against Indiana, who was able to get past Oklahoma, move on to the regional final. The 1 seed Duke, 3 seed Indiana, and Duke victorious 62-57 to win the Washington Regional and move on to the Final Four. The Atlanta Regional, 1 seed Villanova cruising over Delaware State their first game. 9 seed Temple took down DePaul by 12 to move on. Xavier takes down Akron, 22 points to move on to the next round. George Washington gets past Butler, no problem. Kentucky gets past East Tennessee State by 13 to move on. Ohio State, a 15-point win over Oregon. And Ball State, one of the huge surprises in the tournament. One of the huge surprises throughout the season, a 3 seed entering the tournament. But they were taken down in the first round. Fantastic season for Ball State. It comes to a disappointing result as they lose to the 14 seed West Illinois 58-53. And the 11th seed NC State cruising past Denver. Denver, another surprise in the season, 19-point win for NC State to move on to the next round. And NC State, great defense against Western Illinois, very comfortable win, 72-35 to move on to the Sweet 16. 2 seed Kentucky gets past Ohio State by 5 to move on. George Washington put up 105 points and won by 45 over Xavier to move on. And Temple, the 9 seed, takes down the 1 seed Villanova by 15 to move on to the Sweet 16. In the Sweet 16, George Washington took down Temple by 10 to move on to the Elite 8. And NC State, the 11 seed, 64-51 win over the 2 seed Kentucky to get to the Atlanta Regional Final. The 5 seed George Washington loses to the 11 seed NC State. And NC State, a bit of a Cinderella run here as they win the Atlanta Regional and move on to the Final Four. Minneapolis Regional, Connecticut, no problem first round there over Albany. Notre Dame, no problem over UAB. Maryland getting past St. Francis, New York by 13. St. Francis, another original D1 member, making their first ever NCAA tournament appearance in 2006. Middle Tennessee winning by 5 over the 12 seed Bradley. Alabama cruising over McNeese State. Arizona getting the win over Arkansas State. Georgia, the 3 seed, winning by 6 over UNLV. And Iowa State getting past Houston by 11. The next round, 3 seed Georgia gets past Iowa State by 6. Arizona takes down the 2 seed Alabama by 3. Maryland cruising over Middle Tennessee to move on. And the 1 seed Connecticut, by 1 point they fall in the second round here. 8 seed Notre Dame upsets UConn to move on to the Sweet 16. In the Sweet 16, Notre Dame's run comes to a screeching halt. Maryland winning that one comfortably to move on to the Elite 8. And Arizona, a 7-point win over Georgia to move on to the Minneapolis Regional Final. And Arizona blows out Maryland 104-60. Dominant win for the 7 seed Arizona as they win the Minneapolis Regional and move on to the Final Four. The Oakland Regional, the 1 seed Louisville cruising over Marist in the first round. St. John's victorious over Virginia Tech by 14. Michigan gets past Bucknell by 8. The 12th seed Winthrop upsets the 5 seed LSU by 23 points there. Winthrop all over the Tigers. Wake Forest gets past Samford by 13. Illinois gets the victory over Florida. Gonzaga gets past Yale, and the 11 seed Colorado, 2-point win over Purdue. The next round, Colorado, 4-point win over the 3 seed Gonzaga. Colorado moves on to the Sweet 16. Wake Forest gets past Illinois by 6. Winthrop, their season comes to an end, losing by 9 against the 4 seed Michigan. And the 1 seed Louisville takes down St. John's to move on to the Sweet 16. In the Sweet 16, Louisville gets past Michigan, 61-45. And Colorado takes down Wake Forest, 68-59. So the 11 seed Colorado moves on to the Oakland Regional Final. And it comes to an end in heartbreaking fashion as the 1 seed Louisville gets the 1-point win, 67-66, to move on to the Final Four. And here's the Final Four. Both 1 seeds met in the first semifinal. 1 seed Duke, 1 seed Louisville. Duke the 1 seed overall. And this was a great, highly competitive, close game. 64-59. Duke able to get the 5-point win to move on to the national championship. The other Final Four matchup, unlike the 2 1 seeds, was some higher seeds. The 11 seed NC State and the 7 seed Arizona. And this was another very competitive, intense game. Another game decided by single digits. But the 7 seed Arizona wins by 9 over NC State, 73-64, to move on to the national championship. The 1 seed Duke, 1 seed overall versus the 7 seed Arizona in the national title game. And the Duke Blue Devils, the 2006 national champions, as they take down Arizona 70-64 to win it all. Congratulations to Duke. Congratulations to all the Final Four teams, to all the NCAA tournament teams for a great 2006 season. Let's take a look here, recap our whole season here in 2006. Started things off, host of a small 4-team season opening tournament, the William & Mary tournament, where we took on Maine in our first game here on our home court. Started the season off 0-1, losing 80-74. Then went on the road against Hampton, ended up losing that one by 15, so an 0-2 start to the season. We were able to get our first win of the year at home versus Campbell, 66-55. Then a nice comeback win here against Longwood. Trailed pretty big in this one, able to fight our way back and win it 79-73, to get to 2-2. We continued our win streak, our first conference game, taking down UNC Wilmington 64-60 at home, then taking down Towson on the road by 16. Non-conference wins on the road against UMBC, and then at home against UNC Greensboro. Hard-fought game here on the road against Virginia Tech. Had a lead in this one, just weren't able to hold it, and then this came down to the wire, just weren't able to make the plays in the end. It was a frustrating loss for sure. It ended our winning streak, but we were able to get back in the win column our next game on the road against Richmond, winning at 62-44. Then nothing but Colonial games afterwards. Started off the stretch of nothing but Colonial games with a loss at home against Drexel. It's another game where we had a lead that we were not able to hold on to. So that dropped us to 2-1 in conference play. We were able to bounce back for sure, getting nice wins on the road against UNC Wilmington, taking down George Mason at home by 13, Georgia State on the road by 18, VCU on the road by 18, taking down Old Dominion at home by 12. This was a huge win. At the time, we were both near the top of the conference. Old Dominion was the regular season and tournament champions in the Colonial from 2005, so this was a huge win for us. Then we got the victory on the road against George Mason. Hard-fought win at home against James Madison, winning by 9. Able to get a victory over Northeastern on the road. Northeastern was in the top 10 nationally at one point in the season and really fell off the second part of the year. Another win for us, blowing out Georgia State at home, winning up by 30. Then our winning streak came to an end as we were defeated by 15 on the road against Old Dominion. We were able to bounce back strong our next game, winning on the road against James Madison, winning at home against Delaware, and winning at home against Hofstra. A very hard-fought game. We were right on the bubble. These games are really intense here, trying to increase our at-large chances as best we could. Getting a win on the road against Drexel, and then a victory blowing out VCU by 33 points. And that began the Colonial Conference Tournament. We already talked about what an epic comeback this was, how much was on the line. Able to find a way to get the win 75-73 over Delaware to keep our season going. Move on to the semifinal. Another very hard-fought game. Unlike the final game of the regular season, VCU was right with us. We were able to get the win by 9. Then able to get the win over James Madison in the Colonial Conference Tournament Championship game to punch our ticket to the NCAA tournament. And then, of course, it did not go the way we would have liked it to have gone. We would have liked to have been more competitive, but the fact that we made it here is historic in itself, and this 2006 season, legendary for the William & Mary tribe. Okay, final look at the roster here and look at all the stats throughout the season. Look at the roster that was able to make history here for the tribe in the 2006 season. Stanley Hutchinson led with points. We had a bunch of guys contributing. Everyone who played was a very important contributing factor. Got everyone here. Stanley Hutchinson, number 20. Senior Lance Kamen, number 3. Junior Carey Nelson, number 10. Sophomore. Vincent Bates, number 21. Senior. Byron Gerald, junior, number 35. Daryl Weathersby, number 52, senior. James Craigle, junior, number 54. Andrew Finley, 11, freshman. Jarish Sherrod, number 15, sophomore. Lloyd Grady, freshman, number 42. Jerry Parnell, freshman, number 4. Brad Mattingly, number 2, junior. And then Jamar Cantrell and Dean Plavich both got a red shirt. Both were part of the team, cheering on the crew, of course, throughout the whole run of the season. Not sure if all the stats are entirely accurate, I think they are for the most part, but sometimes things get a little slightly inaccurate here. That is it here. It's a final look at the history-making 2006 William and Mary Tribe. Fantastic season that'll live on in history. Let's go Tribe!